Hi, everybody, and welcome to our week number 5 live stream for my research methods class. I see a bunch of you getting logged in. I know we're at a slightly different time today, so sorry to be a few minutes later. My kids had a minimum day, so I needed to move it back by 15 minutes. But before I get going, can everyone hear and see me okay? Can someone give me a yes or a thumbs up or something in the chat so I know everything is coming through okay? It looks good on my end, but always just to make sure before I keep going. Okay, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So we're in week number 5. It's hard to believe it, but 1/4 of our class is done. Our first exam is behind us. So I just want to make a few comments about last week, and then we can focus on what we have going on this week. But last week we had APA formatting part 1, right? So we had our first elements of looking at like plagiarism and copying and sources and so on. We also had our first exam, and overall the exam was fantastic. A lot of you did a really, really great job. The average score was an A, which makes me really happy to see a lot of A's. Even the low score was about like an 82, I believe it was. So what I saw is that all of you had plenty of time. Everybody did really, really well. It does get a little bit more challenging from here this week. We kind of move into a little more core material, but I'm glad to see that so many of you did a wonderful job on that first exam. So very nice job. Pat yourself on the back. I would encourage you to use them as a learning opportunity. If you liked how you did, which should be a lot of you, keep doing the same thing. Approach the next exam the same way. If you wish you had done a little bit better, you could always do a little bit more prep for this next one. But again, a lot of you should be very happy with your score and where you're at so far. I also saw great things on the discussion last week. In short, it was yes, yes, no for the plagiarism scenarios, and a lot of you did a really great job with that. The number one reason that people lost points was just not quite giving me enough. A few people had the last scenario a little bit off. It isn't plagiarism for the last scenario, and it's okay to use like similar sources. If you had turned in the exact same paper, then it would have been plagiarism, but otherwise it wasn't. So really nice job overall. Don't forget those peer responses. And this week we move on to week number 5. So we're moving to chapter 3, part 1. Discussion number 5, and you'll also see that you have a short little self-assessment. So every week after an exam, you'll have one of these self-assessments. There were 5 points. You have as much time as you need. It's just my chance to check in with you and let you kind of check in with yourself and see how you feel about your grade so far, if there's anything you want to change or do differently in the next section of the class. So this is also something that we'll be due this week. Again, when you click on it, it's just going to be almost like a little quiz, but it's a survey. And I'm looking for you to be honest. Again, you have 5 questions, as much time as you need, and they're each worth 1 point. So there's no right or wrong answers. It's just your opinion on kind of how you're doing. Is there anything you need to change, your approach to the class, and so on. So let's take a look at what we have going on this week. So as I said, we're starting chapter 3, part 1, and then next week will be part 2. So you only need these pages 55 to 66 in your book. So let's take a look at chapter 3. If I click on this here, it will bring up the lecture. And so we're starting to get into some of our core materials now. We've kind of set the stage. We've talked about good sources of information, evaluating information. We've introduced APA formatting. Now we're going to look at 3 claims and 4 validities. So we're going to look at things like frequency association and causal claims this week. We're going to start talking about variables, kind of getting into a little bit more depth with our topic. On the Beyond the Book page, I have a little bit here about correlation and different types of correlation. Really big phrase for this week is correlation does not imply or infer causation. Just because 2 things are related doesn't mean that they cause each other. And this is something that we'll focus on a lot in here this week. Make sure you watch my little video that I made here on YouTube. That's a really great kind of discussion of this correlation and causation element. And then finally on the last page, as always, you have the key terms that you need from this part of the chapter if you wanted to start preparing for the next exam. So as always, make sure you read through the chapter, right? So 55 to 66 in the textbook. Read through my lecture, watch those little videos that are in there. All of it together is going to help you to understand. Don't forget to also watch the lecture video on chapter 3, part 1, right? So this is me kind of going into some of the content for that chapter, just the first part of the chapter. You might consider taking notes or at least, paying attention. Hopefully, between those three things together, it helps you to understand that first part of the chapter. Discussion number 5 for this week. Let's take a look at that together. Oops. Uh-oh, that's strange that it did not open. Give me 1 second here. Maybe if I get out of student view. Canvas has been having some glitches. I don't know if you've noticed that, but there have been a few glitches with Canvas. In my intro psych class, it deleted like several of my audio files. So I'll look into that in a moment when we're done here. It looks like some of you have responded, so it might have just been a glitch for a moment. But when you open discussion 5, here are my instructions at the top, followed by my video and then the questions. So for this one, you're going to read this little article right here called 8 Ways That Screens Are Ruining Your Family's Life. 8 ways that they're ruining your family's life. So when you click on this, it'll bring up the article that you can read. It's right here. It was an article written back in 2017. And so you'll read through that. And then when you're done going through the article, you can see there are 8 different claims that they make. It's not too long, just about 3 pages. Then you can answer these questions. So number 1, you're going to summarize the article in 1 to 2 sentences. Be sure to include the author's conclusions and findings in your summary. This is a really awesome skill to learn with article reading. If you had to summarize the article in just a couple of sentences, how would you do so? And that takes a lot of effort to kind of learn that. So I'm trying to push that a little bit for you here. Number 2, this is a big one here. Thinking about the 3 types of claims that we discussed in the text. Answer these 2, right? So what type of claim is the author making? Are they making frequency, association, or causal claims in the article? And follow up to that, is the author's claim accurate or justified? In other words, right, just to clarify, is the type of claim that the author is making actually the correct type of claim according to your reading? So if they're making a frequency claim, is that correct, or association or causal or whatever, right? If you're having trouble determining the type of claim for the article, think about whether the variables were measured or manipulated. Are they related to each other, or can we determine cause? Use those little questions to help you in some of the diagrams and content from this week's material. Number 3, find 2 different examples in the article of terms or variables that need to be operationalized. They need a definition in order to be successfully measured and or evaluated. So for example, if they make a claim of success, what does success actually mean, right? So find 2 different examples of terms or variables that really need an operational definition in order to actually be measured. And then finally, thinking about potential third variables and or the directionality effect. How else could any of the variables or aspects of this article possibly be explained? So you have these 4 questions that you're going through for this article. So make sure you read it, then answer those 4 questions. You can see a few people already did that down here. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points of credit. So as I said, kind of getting a little bit more challenging this week as we introduce these different types of claims, but we'll add to it a little bit next week. We'll get there a little bit at a time. So that is the discussion for this week that you will need to focus on. So let me go back here. It's being finicky. Don't forget to also do that little self-assessment that I mentioned a few moments ago. It's only worth 5 points, but they're a very easy 5 points because you're just kind of reflecting on your own work and progress. I'll give you the extra credit question in a moment, and of course I will post the recording of this in a little bit after it's uploaded and downloaded. I have a couple of reminders and just kind of things to put on your mind. The first one, we are 5 weeks in, so some of you might have fallen off of your subscription status. So if you could take a moment and double check on Twitch, that'd be really helpful. Not very many people went and did this, and so if you aren't subscribed, it's really hard for me to track you, and you're not able to do that extra credit later by watching this as a recording. So just double check that real quick since we are past the 30 days that it's good for. If it expired, just renew it really quickly. The other one, if you're looking ahead at the schedule, at the calendar, I should say, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday the 17th at 1 o'clock p.m. Okay, so back to our normal time. I just want to point out something really quickly, and I will obviously send out an announcement about this, and I'll remind you when we get closer. But on the 24th, I won't be holding a live stream. So I'm actually having surgery that week on my knee since I tore my MCL, ACL, and meniscus like 4.5 weeks ago. I'm finally having that surgery this week, and so I'm going to be out that week. So I'm just going to cancel our live stream. I'll be sure to send out some announcements with reminders, and then we'll pick up hopefully the week after. So just to give you a heads up, there won't be one on the 24th. I'll remind you again next week, and there will be an announcement, but just to kind of put it on your mind. And I'm sorry about that little disruption, but I don't think I'll be in a good place to do it that day. So I figure we'll just skip 1 week and then pick right back up. Okay, so let me give you the Twitch extra credit question, and I wrote this out earlier, and let me put it in the chat and explain it a little bit for you. This is the week number 5 Twitch extra credit. Okay, so the question for you to answer is, what are 2 ways that a correlation can be portrayed or represented? What are 2 ways that a correlation can be portrayed or represented? And I'm not looking for like the positive, negative, zero, but how, if you wanted to describe like the strength of a correlation to me or the direction of a correlation, what are 2 different ways that you could give me that information? Okay, so let's see, are you, I'm not sure. Not quite sure what you're asking. Your headphones are not working. Yes, I mean, I see your message. I see your message in the chat. So that is the question for this week. When you are ready to answer that, tell me how they could be portrayed in 2 different ways. You'll go to week number 5, since that's where we're at. Click on optional Twitch extra credit number 5 right here. And then up at the top, let me get back into student view. You'll click on start assignment, and it opens that box where you can type your response, and then when you're done, hit submit for your confetti burst and little flames, right? Like cute little flame guys. So please take advantage of that and those 2 points. It would obviously help make up a couple of missed points on the exam or on a discussion. Don't forget to do the little self-assessment this week to kind of check in with your progress and grade as we get through the first fourth of the class. I can't believe that we're already a fourth of the way through the semester. It's going so quickly. But those are the things to focus on for this week. I will hope to see you all next week for week number 5. I will hang out for a few minutes. If you do have any questions or anything you want me to go over, I would be more than happy to. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy this beautiful weather that we are having today. It's all cloudy and cool. I love it. I would love for it to stay like that. It would be so nice. So these we meet every Wednesday this is for my research methods class. So anyway, I will hang out for a few minutes. I'm going to minimize my video. Thank you all so much for being here with me. I hope you have a wonderful week. And I will hope to see you all next week on Wednesday.